of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'll call this joint meeting with council and commissioners. Call this meeting in order. Looks like both boards, we have a quorum. Okay. The main item on the agenda today is the attorney fees, expenses, and court costs that were involved in the settlement agreement. My understanding is the total of that now is up to, the final total is $112,084.39. With the majority of that being the fees and expenses, $157 of that is the court costs, and approximately $1,000 is interest, which my understanding is until this is complete. Is that your guys' understanding of that as well?
We have them get a tonight decision that finish around the interest of the attached.
Unfortunately, our attorney's not here tonight. I was thinking that he would be. The options for paying this would come out of the county council's portion of casino funds or the commissioner's portion of casino funds, either one. Right now, the balance in the county council's casino funds is $1,481,871, and the commissioner's casino fund stands at $1,354,447. So almost the same in both. I'll open up the meeting for council and commissioners to, if there's questions or if somebody wants to make a motion.
Was there any chance for appeal?
Well, we yes.
What have been our chances to win that appeal?
He wouldn't provide, and he shouldn't, because then he'd be dictating us. Jeff, I'm speaking of the number. Less than 50% was put in writing or email in litigation. Up there in the meeting, he said he felt it would probably be lower than that, but
Roughly 15%.
yeah.
But that's from Jeff, who is the insurance company's lawyer, not our lawyer, correct?
But he is our lawyer. He had to take that over when our lawyer quit. Garrett and them can't take that over.
So I love
He represents.
when that happened, why didn't we ask the courts that we were not being represented well? Our attorney resigned and asked for a stay until we hired an attorney.
You don't have that option apparently because it was already a judgment. Now we just have to decide how we're going to pay this or if we're going to continue to appeal it. So the final decision was made. I can only speak for myself, but the other commissioner is on his way in that meeting agreed when the number 50 to 70,000 more dollars can be tacked onto this.
As a gamble.
As a gamble, and we've run out of attorney money. We don't have insurance money. When do we draw the line on irresponsibility for the taxpayers paying an additional $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in a lawsuit that's been going on forever? I don't want to give any.
But December, I'm just looking at, and of course, I wasn't on council or commissioners in 2024. But in looking on the dates, on December 23rd, the defendants, filed their response.
Yeah.
Then on January 10th, it led to the defendant's response. And then the decision was done on what day was it? The 5th of February. I've been on council since January 1st. I haven't had any correspondence, no communication, no, this is what's going on. We can't appeal. I guess that's where my concern is with taxpayers' money, because we're gonna have to pay it from money that would go to the county for other things, is I saw Jamie's email from January 6th where he said appeal. And everything that I've read on it, I probably would have agreed to appeal as well. So I guess I'm kind of frustrated just because I had no
At the end of the day-
communication until Friday with an email that we were gonna have to make a vote to pay this and from where.
Yeah, just to clarify, on December 23rd, you guys weren't, you're right, you weren't on there.
Right.
But the response back from county council at that time and commissioners was, we don't agree, tell them we're not agreeing. Now, this, everybody here, to her point, is right. On January 10th, the plaintiffs filed their issue. And then on February 5th, we find out about this, and I believe Jamie's document, where Jeff accidentally sends it to Lisa and Jamie, thinking they're still president because he's unaware that it's changed. He sends it to you guys and says in his email, in my opinion, we should file the appeal. So that falls back on you two saying, okay, the way we look at it is, it's the cost. But
Well,
don't you think it would have helped if you would have gone back to everybody that was here during the original to ask, get their opinion? Why do you guys want to fight this?
But it doesn't fall back on just Joe and I.
Jamie
Matt, you were not in the executive meeting. and
No, I
can tell you
wasn't.
Right now.
I'm just going off of what Jamie sent everybody in his email. He told you
And I
guys.
agreed with Jamie at first until
Yeah.
we all sat in a meeting with Jeff on the phone in Indianapolis, and he started spewing percentages off and dollars.
But it's
And that didn't, at the end of that meeting, that's not the way that went. So.
But I think we can't, I mean, to Kim's point, and I agree with it. I absolutely agree. And I think there's other people here that, where did the communication spot? We gotta get to an appropriation. Nobody here is disagreeing. They had county court fees. Here's what you don't know. When we sat down to those that weren't on council and commission, when we sat down to go over the original judgment, we told Pat and Jeff, if they file for their fees, this county needs to return and file against them for our costs. Did you guys ask Jeff?
Jeff did not relay any of that
Okay,
information.
see
to us
that,
on the call.
that's
This all
the
crashed when Pat quit on.
I got you. So now the question, without the new attorney here tonight, which is gonna cause us to have another meeting, do we still have the opportunity to file our cost against Henman and Conway?
Because there was no judgment. I mean, there was
Right.
no judgment.
If they wanna do 110, we go into our insurance company now and we bring them over, because they're gonna be, hey, let's look at this. We need to know from our current attorney, do we have the right to now file a judgment against them for our costs? And that's our cost for all the council meetings, that's all of our costs for all the insurance premiums, our costs for court fees. We need to know if we can file,
Because if there
I
was
would
no-
argue that, but I would argue that.
but it hasn't been asked, is what we don't know.
Don't know.
What we're here tonight to do is say,
One's on vacation and one's
Right.
in legislature.
Right.
we're here tonight to say, we understand they have fees. We're not disagreeing you had fees. We're past the appeal because our communication broke down completely. Unfortunately, taxpayers, we're gonna pay this. And where are we gonna get the money from? That's why we're here tonight.
Right.
So we need to also state to the taxpayers that are watching this, we're in agreement that we ought to have another one of these special meetings to bring our current attorney in and ask him these questions. Can we file against the Henman and Conway for our losses?
We can, and I think we could probably do that on, now we have a creative, you don't have to have a public forum for that.
Right.
So we're all on a group email system together now. So there's no reason that question.
I think you have to
can't
be
asked,
careful about group emails if you're asking questions to make decisions on.
But that's not a decision.
It's just, you're just saying, we're just asking
Asking him,
questions.
is this an option for Switzerland County to fight back for ridiculous
Well, without,
fees that we're now gonna pay?
not that we're looking for a vote, and I don't know how to say this in that sense, but how many of you would be in favor of trying to get our fees back from them?
Well, I was, a year and a half ago when I wasn't an elected official,
Me too.
so. But we have to do it correctly. We have to do it
Don't
without
disagree.
us spending more money.
Nope.
Right.
We don't have any more money. Let's be frank. We have none. We have no insurance money.
The adjuster, just to let you guys know, when I spoke to the adjuster today, so far we have paid a $5,000 deductible in this one particular claim.
This
And
year,
That's just,
so far this year.
that's just a
Okay.
claim. You only pay it in one, you don't pay it every year. It's just this one claim. for this case.
But we all know we have other
We have another
legal
case and we
things
have,
going on. I
but,
don't know much about them.
so
They're there.
what the claim is for, what the attorney is gonna do through our insurance is just for a defense cost up to $50,000. And that's not coming out of the county money. That's what we pay our insurance companies for. And Janice did tell me that, right now she's trying to get something approved to get a small percentage for them to pay of the judgment order that we're supposed to pay. At the most, it'd be 25%, so it could be 12.5, which,
Cause they estimated on the phone that we maybe have 10 to 15,000 left. That's not what it was.
That was
Of the
number they gave us,
50,000.
But they weren't sure what it right.
right,
We're getting
So-
something back, but it's not very much.
no. And I mean, I went through just the last, since this case has went on since 23 and looked up McGrath's side, but it's hard to determine some of them because some of them are PAC related, some of them are reporter and planning and zoning and just litigation for some of these cases. But I mean, you're talking about 48, 49,000, 23, 24, and just the beginning of 25. But there again, some of that is for other things as well for him, but I don't know. And I thought that when the motion that Matt was talking about when we were trying to do the motion for our fees, I thought they denied that. I thought the judge denied one motion that we filed after that. In that email, I didn't have a copy of the email from this morning that you sent out.
But Garrett is supposed to, well, him or, Jefferson, they're supposed to gather the entire case from our 30th with
The draft.
Pat, supposed to gather all that and then find out what our options are. But the one option we don't have, this current moment, is we gotta pay this guy $112,000.
Because there was a
Same.
final judgment filed.
Right, this is a judgment, Jeff was saying.
And again, my decision was based on the percentage that Jeffrey gave us on the phone. And the gamble of 50 to 70,000, I said, it's time to move on.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't even get a decision on it. And that's,
I'm giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
This is why I made that decision.
That makes sense.
And I'll take ownership for it.
I agree with you. That's a lot.
I just wish I was asked in that time, in the
At
time
that
frame
point,
before
though,
we
the
could have.
lawyer on that call said this was a commissioner's decision, no mention of council.
and Joe, you guys are the new commissioners. You can do whatever you want. All I can tell you is, it doesn't make sense. We, all the way through this court proceeding, both council and commission have worked together with these lawyers. And I think the heartburn I have, I'm not speaking for anybody else here, is there were dates where this information was being passed. And council, until Friday of last week, that was the first time we heard about this. First time, and with an immediate, hate to bother you guys and throw another meeting on you from Lance, that you guys need to be at an appropriation meeting. But although Lance, I've asked in a couple of emails, you made the comment that you knew that we weren't, our insurance wasn't gonna, when did you know that?
Thursday night. Yeah.
Say it's kind of the day.
So,
Yeah,
But I mean, I guess,
I mean, on that communication breakdown, we gotta fix that on our own end. That's us. Somehow we dropped the ball.
But here's what you said is right. We need to work together, no question, and I know Joe does, and I want to work with you all, I don't have any issues with you. But you said it, Matt, we're two new commissioners. So when the lawyer tells us at the end of the day, we have to be the ones who vote on this, that's where I'm gonna run with this.
I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing. I said, I don't disagree.
I don't think you can vote, but your opinion can be duly noted.
you're all right. Go ahead.
But I'm-
So.
My concern with that, Ryan, is I wish you guys would have said to Jeff at that point in time, what is leading up to this, to the final judgment of the actual court order leading into this fees? What was the past council commissioners, what was their decisions? What were they doing? Because I think you would have brought a lot of light onto this, where we said on the 24th, no, we don't agree with that. Now, they have a right and they did it. They filed for their fees and the appeal process ended. Nobody asked our opinion. or to get history on this, and we are where we are for $112,084.12.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but, you know, you made the decision on December 23rd, whatever it was, to appeal the process. Hell, I would have appealed the process too the first time. Who wouldn't do? But.
Well, that would be the second time, because in the first judgment, just to clarify, they tried to put the fees in that document, and the court said, no, this is gonna sit outside of it.
Right.
So that was really the second time that happened. Again, you didn't know.
So, but we saved some money on that second appeal. I know I've read that, but not much. Pennies on the dollar. But do we really want to, we're all elected to try not to bury this cow. I think we agree on that.
Yep.
Do we all want to take a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 gamble when the guy's telling us in an executive meeting, we might not be able to do this?
And Ryan, I agree. I don't think anybody here would say they had fee charges.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that, did they share what their charges are? Do we know if Penman and Conway are making any money off of this at all?
Gentlemen,
Do we know,
Is it broke down?
is it
Like
broke
what
down?
are
Is it,
those?
do we know? Did we ask to see their charges? I mean, where does it go? I would think we'd have the right to ask.
the lawsuit, well, the 112,000 we're gonna write tonight is going directly to his law firm in Madison. And I'm sure he's gonna pay his secretary,
I don't,
but he's getting all $112,000 of that tonight.
And I think that's the hardest part to understand or even believe is that his time was the equivalent of $112,000 in charges when the attorney representing the county was about a third of that,
That was the difference,
right?
attorney fees compared to ours,
Right.
It's about half.
half of that.
Well,
40-some thousand is
You
what.
have to know that out.
Less.
That's how they, how he does that.
why was the settlement signed?
And we're paying.
why was it signed?
Right.
You mean the original settlement?
Yeah.
Nobody was gonna win. It was either take it to court and take your chance, and you can jump in here too, because you got more on that.
Well,
You signed it, right?
the settlement was signed without knowing
What's the price?
the outcome of the attorney fees. The judge had made a ruling on, I don't want to say a ruling. All of the conditions were known with the exception of the attorney fees. And the judge said that that would be a totally separate ruling, that he would not entertain making a ruling on the attorney fees until the other portion was settled. So,
And the
that
settlement.
was unfortunate because had we known the attorney fees were gonna ultimately be awarded, we probably wouldn't have settled for it,
So you
right?
didn't know what a dollar figure was at all.
We knew what Will Gary was claiming was his fees.
Which is like 115,000 or something.
Right, but again, the judge said, that's totally separate outside of the open door violation of open door law case. I will not make a decision on both in the same, at the same time. So we didn't really have any other, I don't want to say we didn't have any other option. We could have said, no, we're not going to settle on the violation of open door law until we know what the outcome of the attorney fees are going to be, I guess. But unfortunately, we didn't do that.
So I guess in a nutshell, none of us like this, but we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. We're gonna have to hold our new attorneys' feet to the fire, that they continue to be open booked with us on both sides of council and commission, so that we don't have this kind of issue again. But we don't have an avenue outside of this at this point of.
Other than we're gonna ask, I know you weren't here, we're gonna ask the attorney
Ask that question.
to see if we have the opportunity now to file a motion for our expenses. And I want the insurance company included in that, because I can tell you, insurance company, we may know our cost, but they've got costs too. They're an insurance company, so they're gonna have some big costs.
And that's how ended up being around 70,000. So much from Will over there in Madison, and then our insurance was gonna have money that we had to pay for in the appeal I'm talking about. So that number was gonna drive up to $70,000.
I'd like to know, I mean, on our cost, the meetings that council and commission had together, the county had to pay X amount for those. So I don't know if that was in the original 70 or not, but keep lumping it in.
No, that wasn't enough. This was been for a new appeal. So we'll ask that question. But I guess at this point, we need to figure out how we're gonna pay this debt.
Pay that tomorrow.
Yeah, he's coming here tomorrow. Yeah, that's pretty much, or we're getting more, interest.
You got the email Friday like I did.
And we're saying that the check has to be cut tomorrow. That's gotta go through the clerk of courts and be approved all the way through, right?
Right, as long as there's,
Can
well,
we do that? The clerk of courts has to get,
The check can be issued directly to him.
So we're.
and I'd say at the end of the day, we should say,
The, I don't know if the clerk position actually filed. If, I don't know. They can.
the exact amount.
Yeah.
were you, as commissioners, were you thinking you were gonna support this with some money out of your casino revenue?
To be honest with you, I think if we just split this right down the middle, we call it a day. That's my opinion. We both have pretty decent amount of casino.
We both have about the same amount of casino funds. It's based on what our current county attorney said, that both boards need to be here, both boards need to appropriate this, so procedurally, I would think that council can make a motion, approve it, and the commissioners can follow up the same. So say if they don't agree, we'll start over.
So we take their appropriation and bless that, vote on that first, and then
And we make, council, we'll go first, make our own, and
we
then
go first.
commissioners can. So just for, if somebody wants to make, if we would split it, it would be $56,042.19. $56,042.20. You think that's funny?
Who's staying there?
So I'll entertain a motion from the council.
I make a motion that we pay our half of the bill,
Okay,
that the council plays it, their half of 56,000 and some change.
okay. Got a motion by Carrie. And a second by Scott to pay $56,042.19 out of the county council's casino funds towards the attorney fees, expenses, and court costs. Any other questions? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Commissioner side, I'll entertain a motion to pay $56,042.20 out of the Commissioner's Casino Revenue Fund.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Actually, I don't think Ryan made the motion, right? He said he'd entertain the motion, or did you say?
I'll wait for somebody to say something. Second it then, Jamie.
I'll second it, yeah.
You done. Thank you.
Unfortunately, with our attorney not here, we didn't get a lot of, much clarity. Questions answered that we planned on, but we can still, follow up with that in email and talk to him at our next meeting. Hopefully we'll be here Thursday at our council meeting, so.
When you send that to him, Ryan, because I'm guessing you're gonna do what Lance is asking, can you copy all of us so we can see that
To Jeff.
to Jeff, not to Jeff, to
Here, Pat.
Or you-
Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna use, I assume everybody's been on this one that we spoke on the weekend.
Joe, were you on it? That's why I asked you for your email. So I didn't see your email on it.
With no more business on the agenda, I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
Next motion.
I'll second.
Call for your motion. Kim, second, all in favor?
How are you doing?
I'm good, Patty. How are you?
Good.
Busy, but good.